Welcome back to another video at Joe's Toolbox Exchange. Today we're going to be looking at a really unique box, or what I would consider a cart. But before we get into that, I do want to mention the giveaway again. It is for one of these Klipsch Bluetooth speakers. They're $300 retail and they're a KMC1. The giveaway ends on September 14th and the pinned top comment below will be to the link to enter the giveaway. So the box that we're looking at today is pretty unique, and it also has a pretty unique history. This is an Epiq and it is a roll cab, although it started out as a side cab. When this box first came out, it had a model number of KEEN361, and that is the part number for a side cab. It is now a KERN361. It's a Kern KERN, which is what a lot of Epiqs are if they do not have power. This one is a KEMP. If it did not have power, it would be a KERN. But the reason it is considered a KERN now is because it is an actual roll cab. This is considered a standalone box. If you want to come show this, when they first released it, this is what it released as, a KEEN361, and they even say end cabinet requires attachment to an Epiq roll cab. It cannot be used as a standalone unit. Even though they show it as a standalone unit, they said right here, cannot be used as a standalone unit. Well, these things were pretty popular, and when they sold, a lot of guys realized that even if they had them up along the box, their full-size box, it was nice to be able to have it work independently, as you could roll it around the shop and use it. And also a lot of guys realized for the money and the cubic inches, it's probably the nicest cart you can buy. I don't really know if I'd consider this a full-size box, but it definitely works fantastic as a cart. Even if you are leaving it in a small space up against a wall, I mean, you get a lot of cubic inches for a really small footprint. This is what it was originally intended as. As you can see, it lines up directly with an Epiq, like a 60 or a 68. If you guys have seen the Cloud 9 boxes, those are 68s with this exact box, a 36-inch attached together. So that's kind of where this began. When you first saw them come out as side cabs, it only came with one wheel. And if you mounted it on this side of the box, you would use this wheel. And if you mounted it on the other side, you would use that wheel, because they're too heavy to just hang on the boxes like they used to do back in the early series of the Master Series, because they just weigh so much. So we're going to get into the specs here a little bit. They are basically the exact same specs as an Epiq. They share a lot of similarities because that's what they are. So it's going to be a 36-inch long box. It is going to be 30 inches deep. All Epiqs are going to be 30 inches deep. And it's going to be 47 from the floor to the top lip. Now the dimensions are the same when you have the work center and the stainless top. Obviously both those things are 30 inches deep by 36. And it looks like our light is dying on the inside there, but that's fine. Just trying to give a little light in there so you can kind of read the paperwork as we showed it. But with the hutch and the stainless steel surface, or bed-lined steel surface rather, it is going to be 74 inches tall. So from the floor to here, 47, and then from there to the top, 74. Overall, they're super cool boxes. I mean, this is the first one we've had in, and I did go out of my way to find it. I'll probably not make anything off this box when I sell it, but it's one of those boxes I just really wanted to get my hands on. It is really neat. The idea that, I mean, essentially, you're talking dimensionally, a cart like over here, if you want to show this one, this is going to be a 40 inches by 20 inches. So this box is really not that big of a difference. I mean, it's a little bit smaller, it's 36, and it's also a lot deeper, it's 30, but it takes up almost the same floor space, and the cubic inches are very high. It does also have the same slides as all of your Epiqs, so they're 227 pounds. I could probably flip this box. No, I cannot flip the box. This thing is heavy. So you're talking 227 pounds per set of slides, and if you want to show inside of it, the drawer is really pretty small. It's really just a cube. It's got 7 drawers. The load capacity of the box is 8,000 pounds. That's because of the casters. The casters are 2,000 pounds a piece, so the fail point of the box is the casters. On most Epiqs, they ship with all 4 wheels pivoting, and then they have a pin that you drop in order to have it not pivot. These ones with the lock still have that feature, so you can fix them if you want, but this box ships with Epiq casters that are non-pivot, which is kind of strange. Like this Epiq here, all 4 are pivot, and for a cart, they're not. I kind of wish they were all pivot, because it's probably the most likely box that would actually utilize that feature, being, so small you could really fit it around a shop. You can swap them out, but those casters are hundreds of dollars, so that's probably not an option for a lot of people. although you are in a lot of money to begin with just on the box the way it sits. We'll go through the prices right here. The bottom is going to be the most expensive. This is $8,035 for just the bottom piece, and it does come with 4 wheels now. You're going to be at $2,465 for the hutch. And for this bedline top, I could be wrong on this because it is an outdated price list, but it's $860. That's what I think it is, although I could be off. It could be closer to $920 with today's prices, but it's somewhere in that ballpark of around $860 to $900. So altogether, this setup lands you $11,360 list. That is an extremely expensive box. Why we're kind of talking about that, this box right next to us is a double classic, and it's $8,330. So this bottom box is actually a little bit more expensive than the Epiq single bay. It's a single bay. That's why we talk about the number 361 being the model, the part number, the model number for it. It's because it's a 36-inch box and it's a 1 because it's a 1 bank. So this would be a 682 because it's 68 with 2 banks. But the cubic inches on them is actually pretty similar, with this box right here being 28,000 and a bit. I think it's 28,200. And then this box being 23,000. So you're losing about 5,000 cubic inches between these two, but this one's actually a little bit less. So if you're kind of in that ballpark of wanting to spend around $8,000, I think this is kind of an underappreciated box. You don't have power in it. This is something that, you know, like the KCPs offer with the power drawer, but dimensionally, it's a lot of the same storage, and also it might be a little bit easier with the fewer drawers. You know, you have a little bit more variety. This would definitely hold all of my sockets that I common use. And all the drawers can get slid around, so if you wanted to have them different. They sell a top box to this also, which is just another bank of drawers, which is really cool. I've never even seen one of these in person at all, but it's essentially this box with just drawers all the way up. So if you were, you know, maybe in a machine shop or something where you didn't need the work surface because you already had plenty of work surface and you just wanted to have a lot of drawers that are extremely heavy, that would be an option. And the part number for just that top cabinet, I do not know off the top of my head, but it's going to be a KESN361. And if you want to come show it, that's what the top cabinet looks like. And as you can see, it's a 36-inch. So it'd line up the exact same. These boxes are really cool. I think it's interesting that when they released them, they told you couldn't use them as an end cab, and then people just, or use them as a standalone. And then over time, they just decided they would do it anyway. The net weight on the box is 400 pounds. So it weighs almost as much as a double classic, which is pretty surprising. That's a really heavy box. With the hutch shut, it shuts like all of them, where it doesn't really pull out and it doesn't really pull down, because it does a combination of the two, which is nice. It's really pretty. It moves super smooth. I'll pull it out so you guys can see how easy it rolls compared to most other boxes. It being small with such a huge caster on it, because they are the Epiq casters, I mean, the thing just wants to move on its own. It's very slick. Angle it around a shop. This is like one of those boxes I get in and I'm extremely tempted to keep it. It's not very practical for what I need it for. I'm trying to find an excuse of somewhere I can keep it in the building so I don't have to get rid of it, because frankly, I do like it. I think that's all the specs. The only one I didn't mention is the square inches of the box is going to be 5,800. So it doesn't really have that much square inches, but that's just because it is not that many drawers, and they're all, you know, going to be relatively deep. You know, there's only 2 of these little ones, where if you look, well, really only 1, where if you look on like a classic, you know, you just get so many of these, and that's what gives you that increased square inches. It is all of those tiny drawers, where this one, it really only has these 2, and then the rest are all pretty substantial. It does have a speed drawer, which is cool. We've seen that in quite a few other boxes. This one's halfway set up, but that's that same rail system that you can screw down, and it is your skinny drawer. You could put it on the bottom if you want, or you can just scrap the rails. That's what a lot of people do. I don't know. I'm excited to make this video. This is probably one of those ones that I hope you guys can appreciate, because it is unique. And I think when we get into these boxes, we sell so many double master cranberry boxes. We sell so many triple classics. We sell so many double classics. You know, these boxes, we sell multiple of every single week. So when we can get our hands on something that's like a little bit unique and a little bit different, it is exciting. It's cool to see a box that, you know, there was nothing like this, you know, 5 years ago, and now there's an option that's totally different than anything we have. and I'm not saying it's a cheap cart, but you know, you can buy the big deluxe slide top carts. Those are like $4,000, and this is a much bigger box than that and more robust and has the option to expand upwards. I've also seen this exact setup with a locker. I've not seen it in person, just online, and that is really cool. So it's essentially this entire setup with a locker on the side. So you can fit all your blow mold cases, and there's little drawers in the bottom. And that entire setup takes up less room than a standard 68 Epiq, but it gives you a lot more versatility in how you want to store. So I think kind of moving past that traditional idea of what we have is just, you know, a single bank, a double bank, and lots of drawers. I like seeing the modularity of the boxes that Snap-on is currently offering. And I like that, you know, when they release something and people decided to find a different way to use this, they catered to it and they immediately flipped the part numbers around to reflect it being a roll cab, and they started offering it with the wheels so you guys didn't have to purchase them separately and sold it as such. I think that's a cool thing Snap-on does. Generally, they do listen to the techs more so than some brands like Matco. Snap-on is more receptive. While we're talking about cool boxes, there's another one. I'm not going to make a video on it, but these are kind of neat. This one came in last night. This is a KTL 1022. This is a wrapped box. We don't get these very often, but this is wrapped from the factory. I'd like to make a couple of notes here. You can tell if a box is wrapped from the factory because if you come, look here, this is the warning sticker in it, and it's not actually a sticker. It's actually embedded in the wrap. So if you guys are looking at a box on the used market and want to know if it's a factory wrap, you can just look. If it has the warning logo actually embedded into the wrap itself, you know, not just a sticker, you know it is a factory wrap. Snap-on's factory wrap is pretty cool. They do a great job. It's a very thick material. I've had this exact box 3 other times, so they made quite a few of these American flag wraps. They always came with a little copy of the Declaration of Independence, which is unique, and every single time I've got one of these boxes, it still came with that piece of paper, which is rare because most of that paperwork is gone on boxes shortly after you purchase them. But this is an option for a lot of people. They have quite a few, and they're not that expensive to get a box wrapped by Snap-on. And if you're concerned about taking care of it, that's something I would consider. You know, you have a wrap and then the wrap gets beat up and then you take the wrap off a couple of years down the road and you have a box that's almost new again. So that one is very cool. We talked about that box, I think a couple of days ago. That was an aftermarket wrap, and there is a big difference. Snap-on's wrap is much heavier. This box is 10 years old that we just showed at the American flag, and the wrap is holding up very, very well. So I think for the price, that's something to consider. I don't know if they wrap Epics. I've never even seen a wrapped Epiq, but I've seen a lot of wrapped Masters and a lot of wrapped Classics. I've never seen a wrapped Heritage, so I don't actually know if they offer that either, but for the Masters and Classic, it is pretty common. So I appreciate you guys watching. This is a really cool box. You know, it's exciting to make videos of something that I like. I don't really have anything to complain about these other than the price just being an absurd amount of money, but at the end of the day, you pay for what you get, and there's really nothing else as nice as this box, so I don't have any other complaints. The fit and finish on it is really good. Everything on it lines up, you know, very nice. Even the gapping on the drawers, all of this is absolutely perfect. Sometimes on Epics you'll see these drawers are just not slightly perfect, but this space here is the exact same on every single drawer on both sides. It's very precision. The locks do not match on this box, which annoys me, so we're going to switch that out probably. It's got the pegboard in the back, same as all of their hutches, so you can do their slot and dot systems. You can put a power bank right here because the box does not have power, although they do offer an option with power. Only when you go that route, you only get 5 drawers. So you're sacrificing, you know, multiple drawers in order to have a power one, but it is a big power drawer, which is kind of cool. It's very similar to this right here. Very similar to this, just not quite as deep. If it was me, I would buy an option like this and then just put the power bank in here. You know, Snap-on sells these power banks that just mount into the holes that are already there. I think they're like $200, so that's always an option. Maybe a hutch light in there would be a good addition. They have an option for a separate power bank, same as that one up at the top, so you could just run your hutch light straight up there to give it some light. You know, in the beginning we had that light in there because it is really dark and dingy, especially with the bedline top. When you go with the stainless top, it really does reflect the light really well. They even say it's done that way on purpose. I guess that's really just the nature of stainless though. When you get that light reflecting around in there, it's like, you know, it's almost glowing just from a small amount of light, so that is pretty cool to see. The bedline kind of makes it not quite as vibrant, you know, it does absorb all of the light. So I would definitely put a hutch light in there if it was me and I'm keeping it. I don't know if I'm keeping it yet. It's kind of one of those things I like to think on things a couple days and then look at it, and then maybe today being Sunday, Maybe sometimes next week we'll have it for sale. Maybe we'll even have it for sale today. I don't know. Sometimes this stuff gets priced at a point where I don't really want to sell it. You know, maybe we put it up online for $5,000. I think realistically, something like this is probably worth closer to $4,000. I would say mid $4s in this condition being perfect. I would say mid $4s. These boxes are only like a year or two old, so you're really not going to see them in bad condition yet unless someone really abused them. So you're not going to find like a smoking hot deal on an older model because there just isn't that many of these produced yet. They are back ordered currently. This is back ordered. This top is back ordered, and the work surface and work center, as they call it, with the hutch and the topper, are basically both back ordered, and also the box itself is back ordered. So you can't get any of these things right now new. So if you're looking for one, you're going to have to hit the used market, and sometimes that does reflect in the price. So I really appreciate you guys watching. The giveaway, once again, ends on September the 14th. I also want to say we hit 1,000 subscribers. We hit it on Friday, today being Sunday. I'll do a shop tour of our home setup soon. It's just been a crazy busy week. We had over 13 boxes sell in the past 7 days. 2 just left a couple hours ago, and then 1 left earlier this morning. So it's just been, I don't think we've really left the shop for the past week other than to go home and sleep. So when I get a chance to get home and get our setup cleaned off, we'll go ahead and do a video of that like I said we would do when we hit 1,000. I just want to say I appreciate all you guys watching, and until next time, thank you.